Hi and welcome back to my channel. I'm Kitty at Little House Learning Co. Today I'm in my pajamas because I'm doing the very hard and sweaty task of organizing our homeschool library and bookshelves after finishing up a school year. As you can see, they are very full already and I need to take all of the books from our kind of functional homeschool cubby where I keep all the books we're using for the school year and find room on our more permanent library shelves. So wish me luck. Today we're going to be talking about our plans for summer and how I decide what to keep on my bookshelves, so I hope you'll stick around. These cubbies are deceptively large. They hold a lot of our school books, and I love working out of this system because each one of my kids can have a little cubby of their own, and I can have my own books in here too, rather than always having to open like our library cupboards to pull out the books that we need for that day of homeschool or that term. But now I have the problem of finding a home for all of this stuff. And I feel like actually, it takes some time, but it's not that big of a deal. The harder thing for me is like, what do I do with their completed workbooks? I know some families, they take these and have like a big bonfire and stuff like that, but for my state, we also need to keep records technically, so I don't know what to do with them. I guess will be a problem for another day because I'm just gonna set them aside today and figure out what to do with them later. Now I'm taking the schedule that I've made for next year and trying to gather all of the books that we're gonna need for our history curriculum to put back on the cubby bookshelves. So for the last 5 years, I have primarily used Amplify Online for our homeschool curriculum. And this last year was my first year that all 3 of my students were in their own Ambleside year. So I had a year 1, a year 3, and a year 5, and all 3 of them were in different history periods, and it felt like a lot. So when I was looking at scheduling for next year and looking at what Ambleside has for year 2, year 4, and year 6, I noticed that my year 2 is in medieval history, and then my year 6 is close to that, where they do medieval history again in year 7. And so when I was looking at which time period I wanted to choose to have them all be together, I decided to do medieval history. So my year 2 will be primarily following Ambleside's schedule, and then my year 4 and year 6 are going to be doing Beautiful Feet books, medieval history. I think technically it's for grades 5 through 8, but it kind of ties in with that. And so I'm doing mostly that, grabbing some books from the Ambleside year 7, and just kind of like doing a little hodgepodge to make sure that all of my students are in the same history cycle. Always done like Bible and artist study and things like that. As a family, we've always had a current read aloud that we're working on, but we've never done like a whole family style spine of our curriculum like this. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how it will go. It's going to be a lot more reading aloud on my part than it has been, because with my older students, a lot of times they've just been reading on their own, or even like doing some on audiobook. So this will be interesting. I think the main thing that's been hard for me is to not want to make this a unit study, for me to go and gather all this information and make the connections and present it to my students like, oh, this is medieval history, versus spreading the feast before them and really letting them make their own connections and making their own personal, like grabbing hold of those beautiful ideas for themselves. So I can definitely see how it's a challenge when you are primarily focusing on one history time period, not to also want to do everything that there possibly is. Like everything I've looked at where there's lists for the best books for medieval history or whatever, it's really hard for me not to want to read every single book on every single list. So I think I've narrowed it down. And, I feel like you never really know until you're actually in a homeschool year as far as like what is going to be too much, or just finding that right balance between challenging your learners, but also not packing your schedule so full or stressing them out. It's always at this point that I start regretting this project, but I know it has to get worse before it gets better, and I'll be glad in the end. So one of the ways that I am making space is by putting different things in different areas. So a couple of these things go in my son's room. A couple of them go on our bookshelf upstairs, which has more of like mine and my husband's books, because I realized they're not really like school books. So That way I can make a little bit more room. And then a couple of these are just like drawing books that should go up in our arts and crafts supplies. This is the part that I feel like is hardest for me, but also most helpful, and that is what I call like my mama basket, or it's basically the basket that sits next to my chair for things that I can reach for quickly. What I decided to keep in here are the things that I want to be able to grab and access right away. So 1, 2, 3, 4, the 5 books that I really want to read for continuing my teacher's education essentially this summer. And then I have just a book that's really beautiful of the Psalms that I would just like to pick up on days where I, like I need that extra shot in the arm. My planner, this is my Juniper Groves journal, and I just replaced the notebooks. They're just blank notebooks right now, just for writing down ideas or things that I'm thinking of. And then I have, this book was just sent to me, How to Build a Godly Marriage, and it's really short and looks encouraging, so I just put this in here because I'd like to pick it up and read it casually this summer. Then I have The Pilgrim's Progress and Paradise Lost, which are the next 2 books that my book club is going through, I think. There might be Persuasion in there too. But I figured I'm going to pull these off my shelf so that I can make more room. This one I should be reading right now, so I haven't started it yet, but it's on my list. So I figured if I keep it close by, then it will be easy to access. Then I have all the papers that I'm compiling to put together in my teacher's guide, or like my own kind of planner that I make, and it just has like all the different maps from our book readings, or like some of the cheat sheets or notes. I don't know, just a lot of different random things that I put together. So I haven't bound it yet. I'm not finalized on it, but I've put all those papers here. And then these are just other papers that I need access to from time to time. And then I do have my book press too. I pulled this out the other night because I was loaning out a book to a friend, and I realized like, oh, I haven't done this in a long time. It's essentially a press that has like my name. It says from the library of Katie Klein, and then you just put this together and you push it down, and it makes this really pretty like embossed look on all of your books. And so I thought, well, maybe I need to leave that out so that I utilize it more. But that's basically everything that's in there. And here's the final stack of all the things that I got rid of or took off my bookshelf. It was mainly curriculum we were done with, or books that I'd read, or just things that we were finished using. And I don't know why, but having all the cubbies filled with the books for next year just makes me more excited for the year. It makes me feel a lot more prepared, and having our library all clean and organized is really refreshing way to just sit and relax this summer and not have to worry about it now. Well, now that I'm freshly showered and the job is mostly all done, I wanted to share with you our plans for school or school type things this summer. So usually, since we live in Minnesota, we like to maximize summer as much as possible. And for me, I feel like I need a break to not always be on like first thing in the morning. So I like to take a break from our school, but I still like to do some things that are school-ish, or just some of the fun things to structure our days a little bit more for when our kids are bored or feeling like they need some activities to do. So each of my kids has probably between 10 and 15 lessons that they need to finish up from their curriculum, Math UC. So every day they are required to do a little bit of math, and then I've also included some fun math adjacent things. So for my youngest, this is a songbook from Math UC that's skip counting and addition facts. I'll show you a look at the inside. So she could listen to that and count it as math. These are mind benders. They're logic puzzles. I'll show you the inside of those too. My oldest could do those, or even my middle probably could as well. And then I have a couple of just math picture books, and this one is a game called Splat with multiplication facts that my 3rd grader is working on. So basically they can come and choose what they're interested in. I also have the Math Inspector that I think my oldest would really like to read. I haven't read the series yet, but I've seen them everywhere, and I found this thrifting, so I thought I would pick it up, and it looks really fun. So in addition to having to do math every day, my kids also need to read for 20 minutes. My youngest is still working her way through some of those early readers and some of her phonics lessons. My 3rd grader, I picked out this from the Secret 7 series by Enid Blyton. This is the first book called The Mystery of the Burnt Cottage. I think she's going to enjoy that a lot. And then my oldest, I picked out this one, National Park Mystery Series. I've had this on my to be read list for a long time. So if he enjoys it, I'm gonna start the whole series. And then we always have a family read aloud. This summer it is The Silver Chair from the Chronicles of Narnia. We're working our way through the Chronicles of Narnia and Harry Potter and the Little House series, just like one book at a time. So we just finished the second book in Harry Potter, so now we're going on to Narnia book, and then we'll do a Little House book here probably at the end of the summer or early fall. I also pulled a couple of just idea books. This one is called The Kids Outdoor Adventure Book, and this one is 100 Days of Adventure by Greta Eskridge. These are just books that have all kinds of different ideas for things to do outside. And then I pulled Pretend Soup and Other Real Recipes and Salad People, which is the second book of this series. These are just lots of recipes that kids can make on their own. I'll show you the inside. They have these really cute step-by-step directions, and my kids have really liked these books, and this is just something where I have one who always wants to make something, and I can say, here. I also have a tie-dye kit. I got this one thrifting, looks like for $2.30. My kids and I have tie-dyed shirts just randomly the last 2 summers, and they have worn them a ton and really enjoyed the process. So when I saw this, I figured I would just pick it up and we could do that again this summer. And then also this solar print kit. We've had this in our cupboard and never have done it, so this will be a fun thing to pull out on one of those sunny summer days. I also have a few books that I know my oldest will enjoy. Oh, there goes my basket. He's very science-minded. This one is 65 Short Mysteries You Can Solve with Science. This is the kind of thing that I just want to put in our bag for when my girls are at piano lessons. He could just pull it out and look through them. These ones are Answers in Genesis books that just talk about like a lot of questions people have about creation. And then I also have in here a brand new Adventures in Odyssey that they've never heard and we've never opened yet. And so that will be fun to have in the car as well. Last but not least, as I was cleaning our shelves, I found this Explode the Code book that's been half done. So I thought that would be fun. Somebody could just take that out and do that as a workbook someday when they're bored. Or also this book, which is called A World Full of Nature Stories. This has 50 folk tales that are all nature-based. We have a lot of books from this series that we've enjoyed reading through, so I thought this would be a fun one to pull out for summer. I also compiled a list of just summer ideas of things that are happening locally or things that we could do on a whim, like taking out the sprinkler, going on a bike ride, playing mini golf, or joining like our library's reading program, or there's movies in the park or music in the park near us. There's a lot of places that have like free roller skating nights or free bowling leagues and stuff like that. So I just wrote all that down so those would be fresh in my mind. I think overall the goal of summer is just to keep math and reading at the forefront of my kids' minds, and then to have a place where they can find activities to do when they're bored, so they're not always coming to me saying, Mom, I'm so bored, what should I do? And you know, our family loves taking a break in the summer. I know a lot of homeschool families school year round, but for us, it's nice. We get time to have more flexibility in our day and just take a breather from our outside activities. And then really, like, we do a lot of Bible camp and camping and hiking in the state parks and things like that in the summertime, trying to soak up this Midwest summer as much as we can. Well, thanks so much for watching and coming along. If you could please like and subscribe, that always helps my channel. This is a little bit different than my usual content. It's been fun though, just to chat and have you come along with me in this big project. If you are a homeschooling family, I also would love to hear what you have planned for the summer. So let me know in the comments what you guys are up to, and I'll see you in the next one.